In this video, we're going to take a look at how to insert images into our web pages in Dreamweaver. And as with many tasks in Dreamweaver, there are many ways to accomplish this, so I'm just going to run you through a couple of these different methods. I'm working with the company text.html file found in the company folder in my site. If you're working along with me, you can find the source files used in this tutorial in the details area of the video workshop. So let's say we want to add some images in here, and I'm going to go over to the Assets panel. Think of the Assets panel as a big catalog of all the assets of your website. You notice that we have several different categories running down the left-hand side here. Currently we have images selected, but we can also use the Assets panel to look through our colors that we use, any links that we've created, any Flash content, Shockwave content, and so on and so on. But since we're working with images, I'm mostly concerned about browsing through the images here. And by simply clicking in here, we can select different images and see previews of these images up in the panel up here. So in this case, I have this image called Humble Beginnings, which I'm going to use to replace the plain text that we have here. So I'm simply going to just delete that text. And to use the Assets panel, all I have to do is once I've found my image, just grab it, drag it onto my page. Now you notice that there's a cursor following my mouse around here. Wherever my cursor happens to be when I release that mouse, that's where that image is going to go. And I'll drop it right there. Now before we see the image, this image tag accessibility attributes dialog pops up. Accessibility is a major concern for most web developers today. Accessibility refers to making your pages as accessible as possible to people with vision disabilities, as well as to people viewing your web pages on smaller devices like their phone or PDA, or maybe even just a regular web browser with images turned off. What this particular dialog box refers to is alternate text. It's asking you for a text description of the image you're about to insert. That way, people with disabilities who use special software that reads the contents of web pages to them out loud will be able to know what this image is. So make sure to take the time to add good descriptive text for every image you add to your page. In this case, the image is just a picture of the text reading Humble Beginnings, so that's what I'm going to type in here. And I'll click on OK. There's my image, and I can see down here, here's where the alt text was added. So that's how easy it is to add an image to your page. Just find the image that you want in your Assets panel and drag it onto the page. Just delete that for a moment. Some of the other options you have for inserting images include just going to your Files panel, looking for your images in here. I'm just going to expand this so I can see it a little bit better. And you can actually drag the files directly from the Files panel onto your page, just the same way you could from the Assets panel. I'm just going to skip the alternate text for now, but be sure you always add alternate text on your own pages. And there it is again. And one more option that you have, let's delete that again, is to go up to the Common tab of the Insert bar and find the Image button here. And in this case, it'll allow you to browse for the image that you want to insert. And once you've found it, you can click Choose. And again, you get the Accessibility Attributes dialog here. And once we click on OK, there's the image. So you have lots of different options for adding images to your pages. But I really want to stress the importance of making sure that the images you add are stored in your local root folder and not outside of it. You can drag in images from anywhere on your computer, but if they're not in your site folder, you're probably going to end up with missing images when you go to publish your site. But fortunately, Dreamweaver does its best to prevent this from happening. I have an image here on my desktop that is not inside my root folder. My root folder is the Aqua site folder here. But I'm going to select that and drag that onto my page. Notice Dreamweaver gives me a dialog here saying this file is outside of the root folder and may not be accessible when you publish the site. It's asking, do I want to copy this into my root folder? If you see this dialog, I highly suggest you click yes. And it's going to prompt me to save this someplace. I'll just save this into my images folder. Again, we have alternate text we can add. And there's my image. And it has been copied into my site folder, so now it's part of my site. There's still a copy sitting on the desktop out here, but the copy that's actually here on my page is actually stored within my local root folder. And lastly, I want to point out that once you have an image on your page, you have some alignment options in terms of how you want the image to align to the text around it. With the image selected, you'll find the alignment menu down here at the bottom of the Properties Inspector. You see we have lots of different choices here, but probably the two most common alignment options here are left, which you can see puts the image to the left of the text and the text wraps around to the right, or right, which does just the opposite, puts the image to the right and the text flows around to the left. So that's a little on working with images in Dreamweaver.